The sun was dipping behind the old buildings as Ian walked home from school, his worn backpack bouncing slightly against his shoulder. It had been a long day, one of those days where teachers talked endlessly, classmates laughed a little too loudly, and his mind wandered more than it should have. Ian wasn't the loudest kid in school. In fact, most people barely noticed him. But he didn't mind. He found peace in silence, in watching life instead of rushing through it. The street he walked every day was quiet, lined with half-finished houses and broken sidewalks. It wasn't the prettiest neighborhood, but it was home. As he turned a corner, something unusual caught his eye, something small, curled up next to an old, rusted gate. At first, he thought it was just a pile of old clothes. People often dump things there. But then it moved. Ian stopped. He stepped closer, cautiously. The sound of frightened breathing reached his ears, soft, shaky, desperate. And then he saw it clearly, a dog. A small golden-colored dog with fur that looked like it used to be clean, maybe even fluffy, but now was tangled and dirty. Its right paw had a small cut. And its eyes. Its eyes were full of fear and exhaustion. Ian's heart tightened. "Hey, buddy," he whispered softly, kneeling down a few feet away so he wouldn't startle it. "It's okay. I'm not here to hurt you." The dog flinched slightly, tucking its tail between its legs. Its ribs were faintly visible beneath the fur, and Ian could tell it hadn't eaten in days. A couple of people passed by, glancing for a second but moving on as if it was none of their concern. One man even muttered, "Stray dog. Stay away. Might bite." But Ian didn't see a stray. He saw a lost soul scared, alone, and hoping for kindness. He slowly stretched his hand out and waited. He didn't move. Didn't speak again. He knew patience meant safety. After what felt like a long minute, the dog sniffed the air cautiously. It inched forward, trembling. Finally, it pressed its cold nose against Ian's fingers. Ian smiled gently. "There you go. See? I'm a friend." He reached into his backpack and pulled out the half sandwich his mom had packed for him, bread, egg, and a little bit of cheese. He had been saving it for later, but looking at the dog's desperate eyes, he didn't even hesitate. He tore a small piece and placed it on the ground. The dog devoured it instantly. "You must be starving," Ian murmured, offering another piece. The dog ate all of it, slowly gaining trust with every bite. When the sandwich was gone, Ian looked at the dog's injured paw. Blood had dried around the cut, and the dog winced whenever it moved. "You're hurt. You won't survive out here alone." Ian looked around, hoping someone else would help. Maybe an adult. Maybe someone with money. But the street was quiet again. Everyone had gone on with their lives. He thought about his mother. Their family barely managed their expenses. Food was tight. Bills were tight. There were days when even small unexpected things were difficult. Bringing home an injured dog. She would worry. She'd be practical, realistic like most parents who carried the weight of life on their shoulders. But Ian couldn't just leave the dog here. Not like this. Not when it had finally trusted him enough to come closer. He gently lifted the dog. It didn't resist. It rested. Its head against his chest, exhausted, as if surrendering completely. "Okay," he whispered, cradling it carefully. "I'll take care of you. Just until you get better. I promise." The walk home felt longer than usual. The dog was too light. Really, yet Ian felt the weight of responsibility growing heavier with every step. But it wasn't a burden. It was a purpose. Something inside him said this moment wasn't an accident. Maybe it was fate. Maybe it was a test. Maybe it was simply the right thing to do. As he approached the front door of his small house, he paused. He could already imagine his mother's reaction. But some acts of kindness don't wait for perfect timing or perfect circumstances. Ian took a deep breath and stepped inside, the dog still resting in his arms, unaware that this simple decision, this small moment of compassion, would soon connect two families in a way none of them could have ever predicted. Ian pushed open the door of their small home, gently carrying the injured dog in his arms. The house was simple, two small rooms, an old fan rattling above, and the smell of Dale simmering in the kitchen. His mother, Miriam, looked up from the stove, her eyebrows instantly raising when she saw what he was holding. Ian. Beta. What is that? She asked, wiping her hands on her dupatta. It's a dog, Amy. I found him on the roadside. He was scared and limping. I couldn't leave him there, Ian replied. His voice filled with a mixture of worry and hope. Miriam's expression softened for a moment. She knew her son had a tender heart. Ever since his father passed away, Ian had become more responsible, more thoughtful. But still, bringing an animal home was something she hadn't expected. Ian, we barely manage our own groceries. How will we take care of a dog? She asked, her tone gentle but realistic. Ian looked down at the dog, who whimpered softly and nuzzled into his shirt, as if sensing the conversation. Amy, just for a little while. I'll take care of him. I'll use my own lunch money for his food if I have to. Miriam sighed. She knew that money was precious to Ian too. He saved every rupee he could for school supplies and bus fare. Yet here he was, ready to sacrifice even that for a creature he didn't know. Seeing the dog's trembling body and Ian's pleading eyes, she finally nodded. Fine. But only until he gets better. And you must take full responsibility. Ian's face lit up. Thank you, Amy. I promise. He placed the dog carefully on an old blanket near his bed. The dog was thin, his fur dirty and tangled. One of his paws was swollen. Ian moved slowly, making sure not to scare him. Don't worry, buddy. You're safe now, he whispered. Miriam brought a bowl of water and some leftover roti soaked in warm milk. The dog sniffed it and began eating eagerly. It made Ian smile. Maybe the dog hadn't eaten in days. For the next hour, Ian gently cleaned the dog using warm water and a soft cloth. He removed the small thorns stuck in its fur, speaking to the dog in a calm voice the whole time. You know, he said while working, people always rush. They don't notice when someone needs help. Even if that someone is just a little dog. But you're someone too, right? You deserve kindness. The dog wagged his tail weakly, as if agreeing. When evening came, Ian sat beside the dog, applying a herbal paste his grandmother had once taught him something good for wounds. Miriam watched silently from the doorway. She saw something beautiful. Her son, though young, had a heart big enough to care for someone who could give him nothing in return. Later that night, they ate dinner together. The dog slept peacefully on the blanket, breathing softly. You really care for him, don't you? Miriam said while pouring Ian water. Ian nodded. Amy. Everyone deserves someone who cares. Even if they can't say thank you. Even if they're different. If we only help when it's convenient, then it's not kindness. It's just comfort. His words struck Miriam. She realized that despite their challenges, kindness wasn't about money, it was about intention, sacrifice, and heart. That night, Ian stayed awake a little longer than usual, making sure the dog was comfortable. He checked the paw, adjusted the blanket, and whispered soft words to help the animal feel safe. The connection between them grew silently. One was a lost dog. The other a boy who had lost much in life, but still chose to give. In the dim light of the room, Miriam watched her son from afar. She felt a mix of pride and sadness, pride because her son had a heart full of compassion, and sadness because life had been hard on them. Yet Ian chose kindness anyway. Before going to bed, she whispered a prayer. May Allah return this kindness to him one day. In a way he never expects. And little did she know, that prayer would soon come true. This small act bringing home a lost dog was about to weave two families together and change their futures forever. For days, the dog now named Buddy by Ian had been recovering steadily. What started as a frightened, limping animal was slowly becoming playful, trusting, and full of life again. Every morning before school, Ian gently cleaned Buddy's wounds and fed him the little food he could spare. His mother quietly watched from the kitchen, pretending not to be concerned, but she couldn't help admiring the gentleness growing in her son. Still, she reminded him daily. Ian. Beta. Remember? We can't keep him forever. Ian nodded, though the thought of parting from Buddy felt heavier with each passing day. One afternoon, Ian sat on the floor beside Buddy, who rested his head lovingly on Ian's leg. With a sigh, he lifted his phone and took a few pictures. He knew what he had to do. His responsibility wasn't to keep the dog, his responsibility was to find its real home. He opened social media and typed, "Found an injured dog. Safe now. If this belongs to anyone, please contact me." He hesitated before pressing post, but eventually did. The message went out to the world. Hours passed. Then a day. Then two. The post got shared many times, but no one came forward. Ian tried not to feel disappointed. He told himself the dog might have been abandoned. Maybe there was no one searching. But on the third evening, something changed. Ian's phone buzzed repeatedly. Notifications flooded the screen. A woman had commented on the post. "This looks like our dog, Bruno. Please check your messages. We've been searching everywhere." Ian's heartbeat quickened. Hands trembling, he opened his inbox. There were several messages, pictures of a cheerful dog with a bright red collar, photos of a young girl hugging him, and a family standing proudly behind him. The last message read, "Please let us know if this is him. We're willing to come immediately." Ian called his mother into the room. Both of them examined the photos carefully. The resemblance was undeniable. Buddy Bruno lifted his head, sensing their unusual silence. Ian held out the phone to the dog. "Is this your family?" he whispered. Buddy's ears perked up at the familiar faces on the screen. That was all the confirmation they needed. Within minutes, Ian replied, "I think I have your dog. You can come tomorrow morning." He sent the location and put the phone aside. Ian felt a strange mix of happiness for the dog and heartbreak for himself. That night, Ian couldn't sleep. Buddy curled up beside him, unaware that their time together was ending. Ian stroked his fur slowly, whispering, "You'll be home soon. And I'm happy for you." The morning of truth. The next day, a luxury SUV pulled up near Ian's small home. A well-dressed couple stepped out, followed by a girl about 8 years old. She clutched a small stuffed toy dog, its fur almost identical to Bruno's. Ian stood by the gate, Buddy resting obediently beside him. The little girl looked up, eyes wide and hopeful. "Bruno," she whispered. Buddy froze. His ears twitched. Then like lightning he bolted toward her, tail wagging wildly, barking in excitement. The girl screamed with joy and fell to her knees as Bruno leapt into her arms. The family teared up watching the reunion. The mother covered her mouth, whispering, "We thought we lost him forever." The father wiped his eyes, gently patting the dog's head. Ian stood silently, forcing a smile, hands clasped behind him to hide the shaking. The father approached Ian. "You found him? You saved him?" Ian nodded. "He was hurt. So I took care of him." The father's gaze softened with respect. "You did more than just take care of him. You brought him back to us." The mother knelt beside Ian. "You must love animals a lot." Ian shrugged shyly. "I just didn't want him to be alone." The girl, still hugging Bruno tightly, looked at Ian and whispered, "Thank you for bringing my best friend home." It was a simple sentence, but it touched every heart present. The moral turning point begins. Before leaving, the father asked, "Is there anything we can do for you?" "Anything at all?" Ian quickly shook his head. "No, sir. I just wanted him to find his family." But the family exchanged glances. They could feel the humility and sincerity behind Ian's words. And at that moment, something sparked inside them. A realization. A responsibility. A desire to give back. They weren't about to leave this boy's kindness unrewarded. And the next decisions they made would change both families forever. Ian stood at the small wooden gate of his house, the dog whom he had lovingly named Buddy sitting beside him, wagging its tail in excitement. But Ian's heart felt heavier with every passing second. He had nursed Buddy back to health, fed him from his own portions, and spent late nights comforting the frightened animal. Now, the moment had come to return him to his rightful owners. A shiny black car slowly stopped in front of the house. A well-dressed couple stepped out, their eyes already filling with emotion the moment they saw Buddy. The dog immediately recognized them and rushed forward, barking and whining with joy. The woman bent down, tears streaming down her cheeks as she hugged him. The man placed his hand on the dog's head, whispering, "We thought we lost you forever." Ian watched the reunion with mixed feelings, relief that the dog was back where it belonged, but a sense of loss knowing that his days of holding Buddy close were over. His mother stepped beside him, gently placing her hand on his shoulder. "You did the right thing," she whispered. "This is kindness. This is who you are." The wealthy couple approached Ian. The woman, still emotional, asked softly, "Were you the one who found him?" Ian nodded. He was hurt. Scared. I couldn't leave him there." The man looked around and noticed the humble home, the cracked wall, the patched windows. He could see that this family didn't have much, yet the love in their eyes spoke volumes. He said, "You took care of him better than many people with everything would have." Ian smiled shyly. Buddy needed help. Anyone would have done the same. But deep down, the couple knew that wasn't true. Many people had walked past their missing notices without paying attention. Many had seen Buddy wandering and chose not to get involved. But this young boy with so little had chosen compassion over convenience. Buddy, still excited, ran back to Ian and nuzzled his leg, as if saying a silent thank you. The wealthy woman noticed the gesture and her expression softened even more. "He really loves you," she said with a warm smile. Ian kneeled and hugged Buddy one last time. "Be a good boy," he whispered. "You're home now." As he stood up, the weight in his chest grew heavier. He had done the right thing, but doing the right thing sometimes hurts. His mother noticed his eyes glistening and squeezed his hand gently. The wealthy man exchanged a glance with his wife. They both nodded as if agreeing silently on something important. The man cleared his throat and said, "Ian, we want to do something for you." Ian quickly shook his head. "You don't have to." "Really? I didn't help him for any reward. And that," the woman said, "is exactly why you deserve one." Before Ian could protest again, the man continued, "Your kindness brought our family back together. Let us help yours." He reached into his car and brought out a medium-sized box. Inside were bags of groceries, fresh vegetables, and even medicine, things the family deeply needed but rarely afforded. Ian's mother gasped softly. This is too much. It's the least we can do." The woman replied gently. But that wasn't all. The man handed Ian an envelope. "This is for your future. For your studies. A child with a heart like yours deserves opportunities." Ian opened the envelope with trembling hands. Inside was a scholarship certificate for a full year at a better school, the school he had always dreamed of attending. He stared at the paper, speechless. His mother covered her mouth as tears spilled down her cheeks. The wealthy couple stepped closer, their voices filled with warmth and sincerity. "Ian, kindness is rare. You reminded us that compassion still exists. You changed our family today." Ian looked at Buddy one last time. The dog barked happily, as if celebrating his hero. "And you changed mine," Ian whispered. The couple left with Buddy, but they left behind something far greater: hope, gratitude, and new beginnings. Ian stood there at the gate, watching the car disappear, realizing that a simple act of kindness had transformed two families forever.